Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov, and here we are. For me, it's really the third time that I'm doing a cycle live on Facebook. But this cycle, the third cycle, is going to be a little bit different, maybe a lot different than the rest that I've done in the past. Because there's so many people who've asked me and who have written to me and who have wanted me to, I can't see anything, I have to put this away, that have asked me to please do Kabbalah. After all, you write a book about the Kabbalah of the voice, and you write a book about the secret codes of the voice in the Zohar. So why don't you do something here? So I thought about it, and since I teach in a certain way, and I do not believe in anything but the absolute truth, so whatever constitutes commentary, other than the sages, of course, but commentary on Zohar, on Torah for that matter, is not what interests me. So what I've done is I did this in Italian and I'm doing the same thing in English. I'm pulling out of Kabbalah a precept or a thought process that is going to be understandable to all of us. That you don't have to feel yourself completely out of it, but something that we can talk about and something that you can understand and be comfortable with, just like we've done with Torah. So Bereshit is the beginning. The beginning of all. So how can I say the beginning of all when science talks about Big Bang theories, tremendous amount of research, millions of years. And I look at things, and of course, I hear what they say, and I read what they say, and then I turn around and I look at the sky, and I look at the sun, and I look at the moon, and I look at the stars, and I say, who created these? You can have a million theories, and you can sell them to the world. But I'd like to find one person who can answer my question. Who created these? And if you don't have an answer to who created these, then give me an answer to who created light and dark, who created water and dry land, who created animal and vegetable, and who created fire, and who created water and earth, and who created. You don't want to admit or say and be thought of as totally being lost because you're thinking in such an old-fashioned way. You don't understand anything about science. You understand nothing about anything. That's okay. Because who created these also created you, and also created me, and also created anything and everything that you can look at, watch, touch, feel, and imagine that everything comes out of thought. So before Hashem created, he went to look at Torah, because Torah precedes the creation by 2,000 years. And he takes counsel with Torah, takes counsel with the angels, and the angels cannot understand why are you creating man? You know he's going to sin, and you know he's going to throw away and destroy. Hashem says, I've already thought about that. And I put tshuva, return. Already I put it there. So when they sin, they have a built-in clause of turning around and coming back. Zohar, of course, brings things up in a very interesting way. And there are many, many, many interpretations of why Torah begins with the letter Bet. Now, the Hebrew alphabet begins with Aleph and ends with Taf, and there are 22 letters, and Zohar speaks about every single letter arriving in front of Hashem and giving Hashem incredible reasons why he should begin the Torah with them. And Hashem listens, and to each letter he gives an answer. Volume 1, page 2A, and volume 1, page 3A. So all of these letters arrive, and all of these letters are told whatever reason that Hashem is not going to start Torah with them until the letter Bet comes and speaks directly from the Zohar. The Bet then entered and said, O Lord of the world, may it please thee to put me first in the creation of the world, since I represent benediction, brachot, offered to thee on high and below, the world above and the world below, offer benediction to God. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to her, assuredly, with thee I will create the world, and thou shalt from the beginning be in the creation of the world. The letter Aleph, first letter of the alphabet, remained in her place without presenting herself. Said the Holy One, blessed be His name, Aleph, Aleph, wherefore comest thou not before me like the rest of the letters? She answered, because I saw all the other letters leaving thy presence without any success. What then could I achieve there? And further, since thou hast already bestowed on the letter Bet this great gift, it is not meet for me to come before the Supreme King to take away the gift which he has made to his servant and give it to another. The Lord said to her, Aleph, Aleph, although I will begin the creation of the world with the Bet, thou wilt remain the first of letters. My unity shall not be expressed except through thee. On thee shall be based all calculations and operations of the world, and unity shall not be expressed save by the letter Aleph. Then the Holy One, blessed be his name, made higher world letters of a larger pattern and lower world letters of a smaller pattern. It is therefore that we have here two words beginning with Bet. Bereshit, bara. This is the way Torah starts. Bereshit, bara. Both words with the letter Bet. In the beginning, God created. He created. And then the two words beginning with Aleph. Elohim, the name of God, one of the 72 names of God. Et. God created with. They represent the higher world letters and the lower world letters, which two operate above and below, together and as one. Elohim bara et. God created that. Who created that? Hashem, Elohim, God created that. You know, there are many interesting conversations about where does all this come from? Who wrote this? Who can 5,781 years ago create a world, the world that you and I live in? How can somebody write laws and rules and regulations and thoughts and commandments, and by them the Jewish people live? The world lives. The moral laws of the Noahide laws are Torah. The morality of the world is based upon Torah. Who created these? You know, you go through the first day, light and darkness. The second day, separations of the water. The third day, land and vegetation. The fourth day, sun, moon, and stars. The fifth day, small creatures, fish and birds. The sixth day, animal and man. Seventh day, God rests from work. Man on the same day as animal. When man is not guided by the laws and the commands of Torah, he behaves and acts like an animal. But animals would never, ever, ever do, not to each other, what man does. Animals would never conceive of the horror that man can conceive, because animals don't have free choice, but man does. So when God created man, Garden of Eden, you have it all. Everything is yours. The only thing that you can't do, you can't eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Isn't that amazing? I mean, when you think about it, just think about it. And take away everything, just take the thought and think about it. You have absolutely everything There is only one single solitary thing that you're not allowed to do. And this is, of course, what Adam was told by Hashem. Then Hashem thinks that man should not be alone, and so he takes the rib and he forms Eve. And Eve is seduced by the snake, and Eve seduces Adam. The fruit is eaten by both. Man loses his place in the Garden of Eden. Woman is damned with childbirth, with menstruation, with pain, with domination. Out. You just lost perfection. You just lost a world. And look at our lives. How many times in your life, instead of going for the right, when you know it's right, you let yourself be seduced by the left? Instead of doing the right thing, you choose the wrong thing. Instead of keeping Shabbat, instead of from the first day, from the moment of creation, on the seventh day of creation, Torah tells you the skies, the earth, and all their numerous components were completed. On the seventh day, God completed his work that he had made. On the seventh day, he rested from all the work that he had done. God blessed the seventh day, and he sanctified it, because on that day, God rested from all his work that he had created. For the remaining work which was left to be done, he finished on Friday, and on Shabbos he rested. So, if God rested, and God stopped, sanctified the day, gave it to you as his gift, in reality, his gift to you, with all of the rules and the regulations. You can come to me and you can tell me this doesn't fit and that doesn't fit and the next thing is wrong and this doesn't work and I need and this I need. And I will tell you who created these. And every single thing that you have, and every single thing that you own, and every single thing that you can imagine ever of owning, having, being, has nothing to do with you. You think it belongs to you. You think you created it. And I ask you, who created these? Because he who created these, he who gave you the gift of Shabbat, because he rested on Shabbat, he is the one who owns the world. And we see, we don't talk about it, but we see, if we just open our eyes a tiny little bit, and today we don't have to even open our eyes because everywhere you look and everything you hear and everything you see is all influenced by Hashem's will. And every single movement in the universe created by him, destroyed by him, taken back by him, granted by him, all of it is his. Rabbi Shimon was in a cave for 13 years together with his son, Rabbi Lazar. And when he came out after 13 years, the second time, because the first time God put him back and said, your attitude isn't right. You come out and you're throwing fire with your eyes. Go back another year and learn. So after the second time that he came out, his father-in-law sees him, and he sees that his body is covered with sores. And he says, woe unto me, Bereshit section 1, page 11b. Woe unto me that I see thee thus. He replied, happy is my portion that thou seest me thus, for otherwise I would not be what I am. Rabbi Shimon then opened his discourse on the precepts of the Torah. Page 11, huh? He says, the precepts of the Torah, which the Holy One has given to Israel, are all laid down in the first chapter of Genesis, in summary. In the beginning, God created. This contains the first precept of all, to wit, the fear of the Lord, as it is written, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, as well as the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. It is the beginning and the gateway of faith. And on this precept, the whole world is established. There are three types of fear. Two have no proper root, while the third is the real fear. There is a man who fears the Holy One, blessed be He, in order that his children may live and not die, or lest he be punished in his body or his possessions. And so he's in constant fear. Evidently, this is not the genuine fear of God. Another man fears the Holy One, blessed be He, because he's afraid of punishment in the other world and the tortures of Gehinnom, purgatory. This is the second type, which is not genuine fear. The genuine type is that which makes man fear his master because he is the mighty ruler, the rock and the foundation of all worlds, before whom all existing things are not, as it has been said, and all the inhabitants of the earth are not, and place his goal in that spot which has been called Y'rat, fear. Rabbi Shimon here wept and said, "Woe to me if I tell, and woe to me if I don't tell. If I tell, then the wicked will know how to worship their master, and if I do not tell, then the companions will be left in ignorance of this discovery." Corresponding to the holy fear, there is an evil fear below that scours and accuses, and which is a lash for punishing the wicked. Now he whose fear is of punishment and accusation is not endowed with that fear of God which leads to life. The fear which rests upon him is that evil fear of the lash, but not the fear of the Lord. For this reason, the spot which is called the fear of the Lord is also called the beginning of knowledge. Hence, this precept is laid down here as it is the principle and root of all other precepts of the Torah. He who cherishes fear observes the whole Torah, and he who does not cherish fear does not observe the other precepts of Torah, since it is the gate of all. Therefore, it is written. Hence, this precept is laid down here as is the principle and the root of all other precepts of the Torah. He who follows this precept observes the entire Torah. Bereshit Through a beginning that is fear, God created heaven and earth. For he who transgresses, this transgresses all precepts of Torah, and his punishment is to be scourged by evil lash. This is implied in the words, and the earth was chaos and confusion, tohu vavohu, and darkness was upon the face of the abyss. This is an allusion to 4 kinds of punishments which is meted out to the wicked. Tohu, chaos, alludes to strangulation, as is written, a line of tohu, meaning a measuring cord. Vohu, confusion, alludes to stoning, stones of confusion by the stones which are sunk in the great abyss for the punishment of the wicked. Darkness is burning, as it is written, and it came to pass when ye heard the voice out of the midst of darkness, while the mountain did burn with fire, and the mountain burned with fire into the heart of heaven and darkness. This is the fire that rests on the heads of the wicked to consume them. The wind alludes to beheading by the sword, which whirls around the wicked like a tempest, as it is said, and the flaming sword which is turned every way. These punishments are meted out to those who transgress the precepts of the Torah. And the words which allude to them follow immediately after the word beginning, which symbolizes the fear of God, which is summary of all precepts. Then follow the other precepts. I'm going to share something very private with you. It's 20 years that I did tshuva. Actually, it started years before, but it took a long time for me to finally completely observe Shabbat. That was my biggest, most difficult thing for me to follow. For the stupidest reasons ever. But at that time, they didn't seem stupid. I know me, and I know that in order for me to do something, I need to have very, very, very strong and powerful discipline. When I lived in Tzfat, Safed, a very, very, very close friend of mine passed away. And the friends got together and they decided that they would say a book of Tehillim, all 150 of them, every single day. And everybody took a number of Tehillim, and basically we said we would do them, and we will do this in her honor. We will do this Ilui Nishmata, for the elevation of her soul. We didn't say how long, at least I didn't hear that. And I took on 3 chapters. Now, 3 chapters of Tehillim is no big deal. But it is a big deal. It is a big deal when you don't do it. It is a big deal when you give your word and you don't fulfill it. It is a big deal when you put yourself to something and you don't fulfill expectations. Not your expectations, but Hashem's expectations. Because when you give your word, in reality, you're giving it to Hashem. I take this very, very, very seriously. I always have. My word has always been my bond. And I learned this from my father, Alav Shalom, who was that way. And this was one of the great, great, great gifts that Baruch Hashem, he gave to me. And very much so, his teachings have been very, very, very important in my life. So if you compare the importance of my father's teaching on this earth and the teachings of Hashem, there is yet some difference, no? So I decided that I needed to give myself and to give my word a great power. And Y'rat Shamaim, the fear of heaven, has to be in every single thing that you do. So I said to myself, speaking to my conscience, to the beginning of knowledge, to the beginning of wisdom, to the beginning of fear. I said, Hashem, I am going to take on these Tehillim for my friend Hannah Besser. And I'm going to do them every single day. And if I don't do them, then you can take my life. I think about this. And there have been days when I was beyond ill and when I couldn't open my eyes and when I couldn't move my body. But I did not say my Tehillim. Hashem gives you the power. When you're doing His work, He gives you the power to do His will. Y'rat Shamaim is His will, is the beginning, is the precept. The Rabbi Shimon says is the opening door to all. I pray that I will never, ever not say my Tehillim for my friend. That in my humble, completely humble opinion is Y'rat Shamaim, because I can't do anything. I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm speaking for me. I cannot do anything without thinking in my head that Hashem is watching me, and anything and everything that I do is being written in the book of remembrance. And I am afraid. Of not doing it right. And I am afraid of disappointing Him. Like I was afraid of disappointing my father. And I'm talking about my father. Because who gives me and who gave me life? And who created these? Isn't it all the same? Because from Garden of Eden, we go to Cain and Abel. We go to murder. We go to 10 generations after the creation of man to Noach. And in 10 generations, man destroyed everything and every good that God wanted to give him, just exactly the way we are destroying his world now. Every evil that can possibly hit the world is being perpetrated by man. Is, has been, will be. Every single thing that is written is being brought to the face of this universe. And we are the generation of Mashiach, of the Messiah, and we are living it. Not only are we living it, but we are creating it. There are places in the Torah where Hashem says, I will move my face away. I will not look at them, and they will think that I don't see. But I see. And in everything that they do, and in everything that this precept that is laid down here and is the root of all other precepts of Torah, is totally being forgotten, put under the carpet, thought as unimportant. But it's not. And deep down inside yourself, you know precisely what I'm talking about. And if you know what I'm talking about, and you desire to take this precept, this one precept, and take it on, I'll have a condominium in the world to come. That's the only way to live an existence that is God-fearing. We're starting a new year. We're in the second month, Cheshvan, of the new year. We've just cleaned our slate of all the past stuff. It's our time to take on Y'rat Shamaim. It's the time to go to Hashem every single day. Every day. Every day. Don't wait for Elul and don't wait for the king is in the field. Every day. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שחזרת בי נשמתי, בחמלה רבה אמונתך. I thank you, Hashem, for waking me up in the morning, for giving me my soul back, for giving me another day of life, another day of goodness, another day of being your servant, and another day of living in your beautiful world. Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashamayim v'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And in the beginning, Hashem created Bet, Bracha, Benediction, love, friendship, humanity. So this is our first sort of introduction into the precepts, into a precept, into a commentary of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Of course, I'm working with the Soncino Zohar. The work is text perfect, and there are no commentaries except the things we talk about. Everything is completely and totally either Gutnick Chumash or Soncino Zohar. I would love to hear from you. And at the beginning, as I did in the end, and as I do every time we see each other, I wish you health and joy and happiness and knowledge and wisdom and eyes to see who created these. Shalom.